Pros are the best of the best, so they must have habits and tricks up their sleeves that we should be copying as well. What's up, ProGuides fam, it's Boggs, and today we have a lot of fun tips and tricks to talk about. It's all about things you should copy that pros do. Now, if I was to go over every little thing pros do that all of us amateurs should copy, then we'd be here all week, and then be spending double that time in the practice server. But I've selected 8 that really stand out as the most important. So without any further dilly-dallying, smack that sub button, and let's jump right in. The first tip is going to take some training to master, but it will make you a significantly better player quickly. Pros always try to isolate their fights, meaning they make sure the duels they take are 1v1s. This means peeking one angle at a time, minimizing your exposure to other angles. If there's someone at the angle you're peeking, you just have one player to worry about while you fight instead of having the nagging feeling that you could get shot from the side too. It helps with confidence in your duels and your survivability more importantly. Just like in a clutch, you want to isolate 1v1 duels. The same concept applies to the overall round. Don't overcommit to a fight and keep your focus. Using utility helps a ton in isolating fights too, such as smoking off an angle or using a molly to force out a player into the open, leaving them wide open for the taking. Say you're going up mid on Inferno, throw a smoke to block off the porch or lane angle, flash through, and clear arches first and keep an eye on the cubby. If you have a teammate with you, it's great if they're able to molly that cubby out while you keep posting up, but it's still possible to do that solo. However, it's much more risky. If you're having some trouble isolating duels, our great coaches at ProGuides.com would love to help you out with any questions you might have. So hop on over after this video and give them a shout. Before we get a little deeper, let's go over the question of the day. What part of your CS game do you feel you need to improve the most? Personally, I feel that my aim, of course, could be much better, but also my communication needs work. There's times where I will calm way too much and overwhelm my teammates, and others where I won't calm in the most concise manner. But what do you guys feel? Please let me know in the comments below. I'm always looking for things to improve on that I might not see myself. Speaking of communication, it's arguably the most important aspect in Counter-Strike as a whole. Without good comms, your team won't have the information necessary and they won't be able to react quickly or at all. Pro teams and players communicate all the information they need to without overcomming or undercomming. It's a delicate balance and one that's incredibly hard to learn, but a good way to start is by calling out what utility is used where. Knowing what utility has been used, and even more importantly where it has been used, is huge on T's side to gauge how many people are on a site and what they have left to hold off a push. On CT's side, you can get an early idea of whether there might be a take or even a fake if you see where the nades are coming from, or if they're isolated with nothing following. Other important things to communicate are ideas on takes, if you want to coordinate a peek with a teammate on both sides of the map, and also if you're rotating to a different spot. Getting coordination with random teammates can be very hard, particularly at the lower levels, but the higher up the ranks you climb, the more people you will find who have better communication and coordination. If you're looking to play on a team too in a league like ESEA Open, learning how to communicate properly is incredibly critical. Up next, this tip is going to tie in a bit to our first one, isolating your fights. It's something we talk about a ton, but is incredibly important, and that's crosshair placement. Knowing how to clear your angles will make your life so much easier. If you walk around a corner with your crosshair on the enemy's head, chances are you'll win that duel easily. If you're peeking an angle and your crosshair is in the right spot, you can channel your inner scream and become the edge shot machine. There's something else that comes with having good crosshair placement though, and that's the confidence you gain. We talked about this in a previous video, but all pros have confidence in their aim. It's the reason you see incredible plays come out of individuals like Simple, Nico, and Rops, and of course many more. There's going to be days you feel better than others, but one constant you can keep to build consistency is your crosshair placement. It will always be there for you to land a kill and maybe even help bring you out of a slump. If there's one thing to aim for in CS, it is to be consistent. Steadily build yourself up and consistently perform. It's better to get about 20 kills a game than to drop 30 in one game and then 10 in the next. Map knowledge might sound self-explanatory, but it's a lot deeper than just basic callouts and how to move around. When watching Dust 2, you might notice teams going B with certain spawns, going long with certain spawns, or just defaulting. This is particularly evident on Dust, but there's other maps where spawn timings give you an advantage getting to certain places faster. Spawn-based takes are always nice, but there's even more to map knowledge. Rotation timing. Knowing how long it takes to get from water on overpass to A site while walking, knife out running, gun out running, going into con, going through T-spawn, and knowing all of the variables can make your clutch attempts a lot more viable and also help out in late round situations, knowing if you can make your way to the opposite site or if you have to push where you are. This also helps on the CT side knowing the rotation timings of the opposition based on their last known position. If you know how much time you have or the enemy has, you come into that hold or take with a lot more confidence instead of worrying whether or not you'll make it in time. Map knowledge could also be extended to knowing which angles people tend to hold and what off angles players might try and take advantage of you from. A lot of this comes from playing, but our next tip will help you figure it out a lot faster. Something that all pros do and spend an incredible amount of time on is demo review. Whether it's their own demos, demos of other teams, or demos of players they want to learn from, players at the top of Counter-Strike spend countless hours watching film. Much like regular sports athletes have sessions where they go over their own play and that of their next opponents, esports pros do the same. Arguably the more important demo reviews of yourself, as you can figure out mistakes you make and how to better play in certain situations. Taking notes and trying to fix your errors will make you a smarter player and will help you improve quickly. Watching demos of good players in certain positions or roles is a great way to learn how to play a new role or spot. If you're trying to learn how to op better, watching Device would be an incredibly worthwhile venture, as he is one of the best oppers at a fundamental level. If you're playing a B anchor position on Mirage, watching players who play in those roles will help you figure out little tricks as well as proper pathing, depending on utility usage. Watching team demos or pro match demos can take a little more concentration and work, but it will be a great way to see how teams coordinate utility on takes, the way players peek together, information that can spur rotations to or away from a site, ways to take certain areas, and a wealth of knowledge I don't have time to mention here. To sum it up though, watching demos is probably the best way to improve as a player quickly and to consistently improve your game. Utility, utility, utility. I don't know how many times I've mentioned it so far in this video, but something that differentiates the good from the great in terms of pro squads is their utility usage and knowledge. When Astralis hit their peak, they were renowned for their impeccable utility. The nade usage, the smokes, the flashes, everything was a well-oiled machine that propelled them to such a dominant reign. Knowing utility is going to make your life so much easier whether you're solo queuing, in a stack, or playing in a league. Knowing how to smoke off key angles will enable you to take a site with much less effort and increase your win percentage greatly. Pop flashes will make kills so much easier, and if executed well will give either you or your teammates free kills. Mollies onto key angles will lessen the places you have to clear, and nades can chunk down opponents, and if used in conjunction can get a free pick for about $600 to $900. Every pro and even players in top advanced teams will know an incredible amount of nades on every single map. Sometimes some players will learn certain pieces they throw on executes, but most of the time everyone will know all the necessary utility. Because if you lose that one player who knows the short molly on overpass, you're SOL. Knowing utility is your best bet to make your life easier in pugs, and even at the higher ranks you'll still find players who barely know the basic A Mirage smokes. A good piece of utility can be the difference between a won round and a lost one. Following up on learning more utility is learning how to use your utility in conjunction with your teammates. Knowing a plethora of flashes and smokes is great, but it's a lot less useful and can even be harmful if used improperly. I'm sure we all hate getting team flashed and have died way too many times because of it. Getting smoked off of a position you wanted to hold can suck big time too. How many times do you see pros team flashing or blocking off teammates? It doesn't happen very often. A lot of these issues can be solved by learning how to communicate properly, but truly learning how to use utility with teammates is a process, but can elevate your gameplay to the next level. Everyone wants to play with someone who can flash perfectly for them and give them some easy free kills. A great tip I learned from a coach friend of mine is to call in a certain way when throwing a flash for your team. When throwing the flash, call flash. And when the flash is about to pop, call bang, so they know to either turn away or to push in. When put into practice with my team, it really made the flashes much more effective. Aside from not team flashing, throwing a coordinated execute might seem simple. Who hasn't thrown the Mirage A execute? But on other maps like Nuke for example, an A-side take requires more utility variety and near perfect timing. The top hut molly only lasts for so long and the flashes will only be effective for a short period, so throwing your utility with your team while also having the rest push out at the right time can be a little difficult to achieve in a pug environment. But when you're playing in a 5-stack, it's definitely something you should try and work on. Our final tip is one which might seem contrary to everything you've heard. The grind has become a way of life in esports, and throwing hours at a problem is widely regarded as the best way to solve it. But this actually is not the case. Pro players don't just grind out without an end goal. They have set practice regimens helped out by analysts and other team personnel. Practicing efficiently helps you to avoid burnout and helps you to manage your time well and get the most out of a gaming session. Not all of us have the time to spend 12 plus hours a day grinding CS, and learning how to better use our valuable game time is critical. There comes a point in time where DMing won't help you out anymore and you'll start to get lazy or tired and generate bad habits. Sure, throwing nades and finding new ones is a good thing to do, but eventually you'll lose interest and it'll turn into a time waster rather than a help. There's only so many demos you can watch before your brain turns off and stops gaining information. Moderation is key, and balancing out your practice is important. Another thing more and more pros are starting to do is creating a workout schedule. Exercise helps your brain and refreshes your mind and body, helping you to go into your gaming sessions with the best possible mindset and ready to get the most out of your time. Whether you're silver or global, there's always more you can learn. Pro players are at the top of our game, and for good reason, so there has to be things we can learn from them. Whether it's isolating your duels to map and nade knowledge, and even how you practice, the pro players in our game seem to have this esport figured out. If you want more detailed help, we have many great coaches on our website at ProGuides.com who would love to help you improve your game in any of the ways we mentioned today and even more. If you enjoyed the video, please do leave a like and don't forget to comment your answer to the question of the day and punch that big ol' subscribe button. Ring the bell for updates on all of our CS uploads, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace!